Will Auston Matthews be the first player in the NHL to score 70 goals since Alex McGillney and Teemu Selanne? And Mitch Marner has had just about enough with the Toronto media. All of that and more in this video. All right, guys, my name is Darius Domingues, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. Let's waste no time at all. Let's get right into it. This season has started with a bang. Back-to-back hat tricks for AM34. What is there to say about Auston Matthews? This guy is on absolute fire. It seems like you can't stop this guy from scoring when he's healthy, and that is good news for Leafs fans. I mean, if you take a look at some of these stats that have come out over the last few days, it's absolutely insane. Auston Matthews is one of only 5 players in NHL history to record a hat trick in each of their first 2 games to start the season, joining Alex Ovechkin in 17-18, Cy Denny, Joe Malone, and Reg Noble. And one thing I found interesting about those stats is that 3 of those players did it over 100 years ago. Okay, Matthews has joined elite company with Alex Ovechkin. The other interesting thing about when Ovechkin did it is he won the Stnaley Cup that year. So could this be the year that Auston Matthews finally brings the Stnaley Cup back to the Toronto Maple Leafs? One thing I also found interesting through the first few days of the season is some comments from Sheldon Keefe on Auston Matthews. I do think he's come in refreshed and healthy, which has been a key point. A lot of people have said he was not healthy last season. He's had a really good offseason. I really don't think he cares how many goals he gets. He cares about how many wins we get, which as a Leafs fan, you have to love. I mean, Auston Matthews is all for the Leafs. He does not care about the single stats, the individual awards, all that stuff. He wants to win a Stnaley Cup in Toronto, and that just warms my heart, and it should warm your heart as well. And on top of it, he is breaking all these records. I mean, it's just fantastic, and he's probably going to smash Matt Sundin's goal record within the next 2 years, which is just absolutely insane to think about. I mean, Matt Sundin was here for so many years. He's regarded as one of the best Leafs of all time, and Matthews is going to smash his record with time left on his contract still, his current contract, which is absolutely insane. And one guy I think who's had a big part of Matthews' success this year is the one and only Ryan Reeves, who was signed in the offseason. I mean, Matthews has credited Reeves over the last few days for creating some space and, giving the guys the juice on the ice and setting the tone out there. And I mean, how do you not love that shot of him with the Leafs locker room title? I mean, that's just amazing stuff. Like, if you're a Leafs fan, you have to love what you've seen from the team. I mean, besides the Chicago game, I guess, but you have to love what you've seen from the team so far this year. I mean, Matthews is scoring at an absolute stupid rate, okay? Back-to-back hat tricks. I know he was quiet in the last game against Chicago, but if he keeps this up, could he score 70 goals? What do you think? Would Auston Matthews be able to score 70 goals in an NHL season? I think he could. I think the 60 caught everyone by surprise, and I think if he was scoring, at a higher clip earlier that season, he probably could have got 70. But there is something to note with Auston Matthews. Although he's scoring at a high clip, there has been some media attention on him for not playing his greatest, but yet still putting up the points. One thing I found very funny against the Blackhawks in the last game was this sign from somebody in the crowd, which is hilarious, pointing to the Steve Simmons question the other night where he said he wasn't playing his best game. But with that being said, with the media scrutiny in this not only country, but I guess this city with the Leafs, is it hard to play? Is it hard to play for the Toronto Maple Leafs? I mean, it might be. But what I found really interesting is Mitch Marner calls out the media over the last few days. That was very interesting. I don't know if anyone's, picked up on that, but he's been throwing shots, through the preseason and yesterday. I mean, if you take a look here, Matthews doesn't have time for any BS from the media. And if we go along to Mitch Marner and what he said, the media, you guys aren't easy to please. There is a lot of expectations, and Connor Bedard, as he was referring to, hasn't lost himself in the expectations. He also mentioned that he met Connor Bedard briefly at the NHL Awards and that he's an awesome guy with a great family as well. And I mean, if we go back to here, Auston Matthews, he looks very, fed up with the media. And take a look at Mitch Marner. Does this look like a guy who's having fun? I wouldn't say so. I mean, you guys aren't very easy to please, as he quotes once again, and Mitch Marner calling out the media on behalf of Connor Bedard. And not only on behalf of Connor Bedard, but we've seen a few Leafs throw shots at the media recently. And it seems to me like especially Steve Simmons, to name drop somebody, has really gotten under the skin of some of the Leafs. So I think that's pretty interesting to keep an eye on. But one of the main topics that I also mentioned is it too hard to play in Toronto? Is there too much pressure in Toronto to play for the Leafs? Playing with another team, even if you're coming in, you know, so many times we've seen other teams, whether it be Chicago or whomever it may be, the Boston Bruins, so many guys coming in to play their first games and they score their first NHL goal or they get a hat trick in their first game. It's just mind-boggling how many times that's happened over the last few years. So is there way too much pressure to play in Toronto as a whole, whether it be for the Maple Leafs or another team? What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. But yes, Auston Matthews, to go back to that, can he play or can he score 70 goals this season? I think he can do it. I would like to see a little bit more out of his line mates as well as Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner likes to call out the media, but, you know, sometimes you got to back it up when you're making that much money. He makes $11 million or just over almost $12 million, which is just absurd. You know, you got Nylander's contract coming up as well this year. He needs an extension. What is this team going to look like going forward? You know, it seems like a lot of guys are fed up. They finally got over the hump last year, but they want to continue to make strides. A lot of people are picking the Leafs to go far in this year's playoffs. The East, they say, is maybe a little bit, you know, less competitive than the top end of the West, which is crazy to say with so many great teams and talent. But yeah, Auston Matthews, Mitch Marner. I would like to see a little bit more from Tyler Bertuzzi, which I was going to bring up. That first line, Tyler Bertuzzi seemed a little bit out of sync with those two in the last game. And I would like to see maybe, you know, Mitch Marner, Auston Matthews be partnered with somebody like William Nylander on that top line to really get Marner going and to solidify Matthews as the best player on the team and scoring at that high click, that high pace that we all know he can. Because I think, you know, if 40 goals in this city is considered a down year, then yes, there is far too much pressure. I mean, 40 goals is a great accomplishment. And I think he just completely outdone himself with the 60 goals the year before. And that's why everyone was saying that it was a down year last year. But yeah, what is there to say about Auston Matthews? I think he's good for 70. Let me know what you think in the comments. But that's it for me in this video. Thank you once again for checking out Leafs Digest. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and we will see you in the next video. Auston Matthews, good for 70 goals. And Mitch Marner calling out the Leafs media. Very interesting to start the season so far. Let's keep our eye on the Maple Leafs.